It says in the Talmud in the tractate of Ta'anit, Mishenichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. When Adar enters, we increase our joy. And therefore, we'll give you a little bit of a promo for Purim, which is coming up in about a week. As you may know, Judaism does not like drunkenness. As a rule, Judaism was opposed to drinking too much wine. We have the story of Noach in the book of Breshit. We have the story of Lot in the book of Breshit. We have the story of Nadav and Avihu in the book of Vayikra, which according to one interpretation in the Midrash, why were they killed? Because they drank too much wine. In other words, in general, Judaism is opposed to drinking too much wine, which is why one of the laws and customs of Purim is quite surprising. It says in the tractate of Megillah, Daf Zayin Amud Bet, folio 7b, Rava says, Michaya vinesh levasume beforia ad lo yada ben arur Haman leBarukh Mordekhai. A person is required to get drunk or to imbibe on Purim until he can't tell the difference between cursed be Haman and blessed be Mordecai. And that statement is followed by a story. Rabbah and Rabbi Zera made a Purim feast together. They became intoxicated. Rabbah stood up and killed Rabbi Zera. On the morrow, Rabbah prayed and revived him. The following year, Rabbah said to him, "Let Master come and we will make the Purim feast together." And Rabbi Zera replied, "Lav b'chol yom mitrachesh nisa." Miracles don't happen every hour, every day. The question is, what did the poskim, what did the later authorities do with this teaching that you're supposed to get drunk? And with the story, which shows you that if you get drunk, you may kill your best friend. And the general tendency of the poskim, of the halachic authorities, was to limit the drinking on Purim. So, for example, the Geonim, the rabbis of the Gaonic period in Babylon, they simply ignored this teaching and this story entirely. They do not quote it in their works. Other rabbis say that the story comes to cancel the teaching of Rabbah. Rabbah says, get drunk, and then they tell the story to say, no, don't get drunk. Look what happens when someone gets drunk, he can kill his best friend. Another interpretation says that arur Haman and Barukh Mordekhai, cursed be Haman and blessed be Mordecai, is really interpreted as a piyut, as a complicated poem that had alternating endings of the phrases, and therefore it takes much less wine to reach that state of inebriation. Another interpretation says that arur Haman and Barukh Mordekhai in Gematria, according to the numeric value of the letters, both add up to 502. You can check it, it's true. And you only need to drink enough wine that you cannot distinguish between the gematrias of arur Haman and Barukh Mordekhai. Another interpretation of the Rambam and of the Ramah, Rabbi Moshe Isserles, is you should drink quite a bit of wine until you fall asleep. When you're asleep, you can't tell the difference between arur Haman and Barukh Mordekhai. Another interpretation says ad velo ad bichlal, that you should drink up until you cannot tell the difference, but not including when you can't tell the difference. In other words, again, to lower the level of inebriation. Another interpretation says mitzvah ba'alma. It's a general mitzvah to do this, but it's not a chiyuv, it's not an obligation. Another interpretation says that this is simply an example of exaggeration or rabbinic hyperbole, and it shouldn't be taken literally. And finally, the Meiri, who lived in Provence in the 14th century, he grabs the bull by the horn and he says, Lo chayav adam. A person is not required to get drunk on Purim. And finally, perhaps the most interesting interpretation of Rabbi Yosef ibn Chabiva, he says that you should drink more than usual on Purim. This will make your heart rejoice. And as you rejoice, this will help you make poor people rejoice. Because as you know, one of the other mitzvot on Purim is matanot le'avyonim, giving alms to the poor. I think the bottom line of all of these interpretations is that the rabbis did not feel comfortable with the requirement, with the chiyuv of Rabbah found in the Talmud, and they found various ways to limit the drunkenness on Purim. So what is the moral of this tale? The moral is that our rabbis throughout the generations were certainly in favor of Simcha Shel Mitzvah, of the joy of performing a mitzvah on Purim, but inebriation, no. And I think this is an important lesson both for the holiday of Purim and throughout the year. Purim Sameach, may you have a wonderful and joyous Purim. Shavua Tov from Schechter.